Hello and welcome to How to Play Pop Melodies. Today we're checking out probably one of my most favorite Christmas tunes to not only play around with, but to teach, and it is Carol of the Bells. A very cool sounding piece of music. And actually, we were lucky enough, and when I say we, I'm talking about my friend, Mr. Bruce Fight, and we have a podcast called the Music Podcast for Kids, and we were lucky enough to interview Al Pitrelli. And Al Pitrelli is the guitar player for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra does a really cool version using the song Carol of the Bells. And I'll link to that in the show notes. The interview was a lot of fun, and learning more about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra is also just great. So listening to them, I'm sure you have heard their piece before, and if you haven't, hopefully it's something that you really enjoy, because it's kind of like a rockin' version, and it uses this theme from Carol of the Bells. So let's check out how to play this today. Today I'm going to show you a right-hand part. The right-hand part is very repetitive, and that means it just repeats over and over and over again. So once we get to that part, we're really going to focus on the left hand, because the left hand is a little more difficult. But I'll try and do my best to help you piece them together. That's always the hardest part, is putting the hands together. But there's a trick that you can use to help you with this particular piece, and hopefully it helps you. So let's check out the first part of this piece, Carol of the Bells, which is going to be played by the right hand. So the right hand is going to get into a position that looks kind of like an E position. If you have followed me in other videos, I discuss positions quite a bit. And let me give you a little rundown of positions. So with the right hand, I always like to think as the thumb is kind of in charge. And what I mean by that is if I'm trying to find a certain position, like C position or E position, the thumb is going to be the finger that ends up finding that note of the position. So for example, if I'm looking for E position, then I would find an E note, and I'm going to find this E note up here. So the E note is right after the set of two black keys. Once I spot an E note, then I'm going to put my thumb on the E, and all the other fingers are going to get in line. And that's what I mean by finding the position. So if I'm looking for C position, well, the thumb is going to find the C note, and then all the other fingers will fall in line. Now, for this tune, we will be in an E position. We would end up calling this an E minor position. I wouldn't worry too much about minor. If you want to learn more about minor, I do have some videos, so you can check those out. I'll link those in the description box. But the position technically would be in an E minor position. Okay, so let's get to it. So the thumb is going to be on E. The pointer is going to be on the first black key of the set of three, which we will call an F sharp. Then we have a G, will be with finger 3. Finger 4 will be with A. Finger 5 will be with B. Now, the only fingers we need for this first part are actually finger 1, finger 2, and finger 3. So these are the three notes that we will play to perform the beginning of Carol of the Bells. Okay, so this is the pattern. I'm just going to play it, and then we'll break it down. So it goes like this. So that's the famous part of Carol of the Bells. Many people recognize that right at the beginning. It's super cool. The way to play it, it's not too complicated. And like I said in the beginning, It repeats all the time. So the way that we play this is 3, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 3, 1. And you play that over and over again. Going slow and going over it over and over again, and even thinking of 3, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 3, 1. If you say that out loud as you play it, that'll really help. 3, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 3, 1. You want to get really super comfortable with that so that you can just do it while you're sleeping. Okay, so like I said, that part, it just repeats over and over again. Let's look at the left hand, because the left hand is a bit more complicated. So this will start out in a position, but it then quickly moves out of a position. So I'm not going to worry about the positioning of the hand so much for this one, because of the fact that it just moves out of position. So let's just find the note that we are going to use and also the finger we will use. So the note we will use will actually be the E note. And just like in the position for the right hand, we ended up being in E position. We started with a G, but the left hand is going to start with an E note using the thumb. So this is how we play the first part. We play E, D, C. That's the very first part of this. And this is where it gets a little tricky. So after we play these three notes, this thumb is going to cross underneath. So I'm going to lift my fingers up so you can kind of see where my thumb is. So my thumb, this is what the thumb looks like while these fingers are still down. So my thumb has crossed underneath. So if I play here, okay, and I'm lifting these fingers up so you can kind of see more about what I'm doing there. We don't want to lift our fingers when we are performing, of course, but that's what's going on. So after I play this E note, the thumb is going to start moving on underneath, and it's going to get into position to play this note. This is a B note. That is going to take some practice, just doing that part, especially if you're not used to doing that. So a way to practice that is, I like to think of target practice. The target is this note, which is a B note. It's the note right after the set of three black keys, and that is the note that we need to target, meaning that we play these three, and then there goes the thumb, and boom, I hit the target. So that's something that I want you to just practice, getting used to that. What's really important is right after I play this note and I move to the next note, my thumb is already has its eyes on the target and it's getting close to it, and there, it nailed it. Okay? Let me play through this whole part so you can kind of see how this works. So that's the entire part to the left hand, and that is while we play this part. So syncing them together, that's going to be the tough part. But let's continue on after we practice our target notes. We've hit the target. Now right here, what we want to do is we're going to play finger 3 again on the C, and then we're going to go back to that finger 1. And we're doing that while we are in this kind of weird transition period. All right, so we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. So you have to stay in that position. And after we do that, then these fingers will move over here. Okay, and we would then complete the rest of it. So we end up getting into, we would call this like an E position. That's where we end up after we play that first part. So let me play through that again. We go, hit the target there, go back up to 3, back to 1, then we go to 2, and then we go to 5. So that'll take some practice, just getting the mechanics of that down. Hit the target, back to C, back to B, then to A, finger 2, then to E, finger 5. Okay, so far you have this to practice. 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1. Then practice the left hand. Okay, so now comes the real tough part. That's putting the hands together. So practicing the parts separately is going to be great to do first. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to piece them together. But this might be something that you really work on. Watch the video a couple times to see how this connects. But this is a cool way to connect them together. So I'm going to play it for you just so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll break down exactly what I'm doing. Here we go. So that's how it sounds when both parts are together. Once you start to get good at it, you can speed it up and it really starts to sound pretty cool. Okay, so here is the trick to piece the hands together. When we are playing this main part, the left hand is going to play at the same exact time that this G is being performed at the beginning of each little section. So if I think of this section as, that's one microsection, the left hand is going to play at the beginning of that microsection. So it'd be like this. Another way to think of it is the left hand is going to play when the right hand is playing a G note at the beginning of a microsection. So remember, this is what I'm calling a microsection. And then I would repeat that. The left hand part will fall at the beginning of each little section there. And it is going to play, the left hand will play while that right hand plays the first G. So hopefully you noticed as I was going slow how if we have how those are pieced together. So that's really the trick. Just making sure you think of that as one small little section, and the left hand plays along with that. The first part, and then here's the next. Then you have to cross under, go back to 3 in the left hand, go back to 1, move to position, 2, and then 5 with the left hand. So that's how you would piece it all together. That is pretty complicated. But if you practice, watch the video a couple times, I think you can do it. So that's the first part to Carol of the Bells. I'm going to show you some other parts later on in some other videos, so hopefully you can start to piece things together. What I love to do with this piece is show different things that you can do with it. So I will probably come out with about 2, 3, maybe 4 different videos that work with this. And then with that, you can actually create your own arrangement of it, meaning you can kind of make up whatever you want. So some other sections that I will go over are, I'm going to show how to play this. So I'm going to show how to play that, and that will actually go along with this. That one's kind of tough. There's a trick to this one as well, but it'd be like... So that's a cool section that we can add into it. We'll also learn how to play some chords along with this part. So that's another section that you could add, and you could start to arrange this in your own way. One thing that you can experiment with is the pedal. Now, we're not going to get into the exact way to do pedaling correctly. That's a whole other video on how to correctly pedal. But if you want to just experiment with the pedal, your keyboard might just have one pedal that is hooked up into the back of your keyboard. Make sure that pedal is hooked into, it should be called the sustain. Sometimes they call it a damper in the back. So just make sure it's plugged into that particular input in your keyboard. If you have a piano, the piano, some pianos only have 2 pedals, but most have 3. And the sustain pedal is the pedal that is all the way to the right. So that's the pedal that you would use if you have an actual piano at home, a real piano. And you can experiment with that pedal while playing this piece, Carol of the Bells. And what you can do is just hold the pedal down. Just hold the pedal all the way down and play through it. And it gives kind of a dreamy sound to it. Now, if you're holding the pedal down the whole way, there are going to be all of these notes kind of smashed together to create this sound that may not be the sound that we're looking for completely. But you would have to learn how to do the correct pedaling, and that will be done in other videos. It's just something to experiment with and play around with. So, I hope that gives you some cool ideas with Carol of the Bells. Let me know how things are going in the comment section below. Thumbs up is always great if you like the video. And I thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy this piece, Carol of the Bells. More to come. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to receive updates on new videos. For more free piano lessons, check out more videos on YouTube and MrHenrysMusicWorld.com.